What? You wanna apply for a Japanese language school? Well, you've come to the right place then. In this video, I'll teach you how to apply for a Japanese language school, things you need to do before you apply, and after you apply for a Japanese language school. Let's start then. Hi guys, here's the presentation. Uh, I have divided the topic into three parts. Part 1 would be things that you need to do before even you start looking for a Japanese language school. Part 2 is how to look for a Japanese school. Part 3 would be things that you need to do after you get the admission at a Japanese language school. So let's start. Part 1, things that you need to do even before looking for a Japanese language school. I have listed down the things. In further slides, I'll go through all of these things in detail. For now, let's go through them in a list. The list is in no particular order, so let's go. The first one is to start the process about 8 to 10 months before the intended start date. It's because the process takes a lot of time. It takes a very long time, and my best advice is to start the process as fast as possible. Second, financial support or sponsor with a bank balance around 13 to 15 lakh. So most schools in Japan look for a candidate or for a student who can support himself, or he has a financial sponsor who can support him during his stay in Japan. And most of the times they ask for a bank statement around 13 to 15 lakhs. Next, learn the basics of Japanese. It's very important. In later videos, in later video, I'll tell you why it is very important. For now, let's go through the list. Next, get a passport, then a credit card, then get a driving license. It's optional, but I would suggest to get one. Make sure you have all your important documents ready. It's with you. Then have a 12 years of schooling. Because most Japanese schools ask for 12 years of schooling. Okay, let's get into the details. First, why do you need to start the process 8 to 10 months before the intended start date? It's because, again, as I said, the application process takes time. Then you may need to visit places while you are trying to apply for the Japanese language school, like you might need to visit the embassy, the consulate, or other important places. So it takes time. Then it also increases your chance of getting the admission. The sooner you start, the better. Next, so if you are applying for the April intake, then my suggestion would be is to start from August of the previous year. Then if you are applying for the October intake, then start from February of the same year. So again, as I say, the sooner the better. Next, have a financial support or a sponsor. Yes, most Japanese school look for candidates who can support themselves. You should have a bank balance of around 13 to 15 lakh. If you are looking for a sponsor, it should be your immediate family member, like your father, mother, brother, or a sister. It cannot be your extended family members, like your cousin or your uncle. Next, you will not use the money immediately, so don't worry about it. You just need to show you have a bank balance of 13 to 15 lakh. Then take a printout of the bank balance and keep it with you. It may come handy. My tip is try to see if you can get an educational loan for studying Japanese. It's quite difficult to get one, but I still would suggest trying to look for one. I'm sorry. Next, learn the basics of Japanese. This is a very important point because I have personally experienced this. One of my friends at a Japanese language school uh, did not study before applying for the school, and he struggled a lot in the beginning. So uh, to make this process much easier, I would suggest you to learn the basics. Again, Japanese schools look for students who have already studied Japanese. It also increases your chance of getting admission. It'll be very easier to understand the Japanese classes in Japan. Okay, so the thing is, uh, in Japan, the Japanese classes are taught in Japanese. So if you don't know Japanese, when you start the class, you will have a difficult time. So please start learning the basics. And also, if you know the basics, it'll be much easier for you to get a part-time job in Japan. It'll be much faster because if you know the basics, you can get a job. Now, how to learn Japanese by yourself? Read a Japanese textbook. I mean, a Japanese textbook that teaches Japanese. Then follow some tutorials, and finally complete a workbook, a Japanese workbook. Now, I have listed all the links for all of those three things in the description. Go there, click the links, go through the files, and see how it is. Okay. Next, get a passport. This is basic. I don't need to tell you this, but again, you need a passport to get a visa. You can use it as a proof of document, and also you need that to apply for a Japanese language school. So yes, get a passport, guys. Next, get a credit card. Again, it's an important thing because to get a SIM card in Japan, you need a credit card. I had really difficult time getting a SIM card in Japan, so I would suggest when you come to Japan, get a credit card. And you can also use credit card for emergency purposes. During your transit or while you are in Japan, there are times when you don't have cash and you may need to use a credit card. So it'll come very handy. Get one. Next, driving license. It's optional, but again, my personal suggestion is to get a driving license in Japan because if you have an Indian license, it is easier and cheaper to transfer it to a Japanese driving license. Usually, uh, it costs around 300,000 yen to get a new Japanese driving license in Japan. But if you have an Indian license, just pay 10,000 and you can convert it into Japanese driving license. But you also need to take a driving test, but it's just 10,000 yen. So it's a win-win situation. And if possible, before coming to Japan, get an international driving license because with international driving license you can drive for 1 year in Japan. And also, Japan drives on the left, similar to India. Next, make sure all your important documents are ready with you. These are the list: Aadhaar card, bank statement, PAN card, 10th and PUC certificate, degree convocation certificate, degree transcripts or mask cards, and passport. And also, before you start looking for a Japanese language school, make sure you have 12 years of schooling. If you have less than that, it's quite difficult to get a Japanese language school. And that's it, guys. That's it for the video. If you have any doubts or questions, leave them in the comment below, and give the video a like and subscribe. Thank you.